having just returned from an important
Having just
ceremony.
sat down.
I'm happy to ask a question if you'd like for a moment while you...
It's okay. Thank you very much.
Please proceed.
So this is for Ms. Camel. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? So this has to do with some definitions. So your research center has a helpful glossary on its website that defines the action of counterfeiting generally as, and I quote, to forge, copy, or initiate something without a right to do so and with the purpose of deceiving or defrauding, end quote. And the federal definition is different, but starts with a spurious mark, meaning one that is not genuine or authentic. So as we deal with this issue of counterfeiting, do we need to have a better definition of what constitutes counterfeiting? Because we're not talking about those instances where someone goes and buys something at a discount, a genuine article at a discount, and then proceeds to sell that item for a lesser price. That is not counterfeiting, is it?
That's correct. I do not believe it is, and thank you for your question. While that definition under the glossary is meant to be descriptive, I would refer back to the definition in the Lanham Act or in the Trademark Counterfeiting Act about the spurious mark. We believe that is what legally defines what a counterfeit mark is.
So the focus of this bill, I think, has to do with items that can be deemed, that can compromise the health and safety of the user. And I think the definition in the bill is very broad, isn't it? Have you had a chance to review the bill?
I have, yes. You're referring to the health and safety provision?
Yes. And doesn't the bill pretty much refer to those kinds of items that compromise or endanger health and safety, that's what we're getting at, but the bill's definition is quite broad. It could be anything, pretty much from what I read. So do we need to better define what we mean by the compromising or whatever, the health and safety?
Thank you for that question. So my understanding is that it implicates a counterfeit good which in itself would impact health and safety. And as we know, and as several of my colleagues here have testified, we know that goods that if they are legitimate may not implicate health and safety, but if they are counterfeit, they can. And a lot of people are often surprised by that when, we get asked the question, what's the harm in purchasing this counterfeit? There's nothing wrong with it. And we know from a lot of testing, for example, that there can be lead or poisonous materials that were made in these products. So from my perspective, the fact that it says that a good that implicates health and safety would encompass a counterfeit that could endanger a person's health and safety. And we see that across industries, across product lines.
Well, the definition is really broad, and that's why I have some concerns about just about anything can compromise or endanger someone's health and safety. For Mr. Lamar, you testified that over a third of the counterfeit clothes that you tested in a case study contained dangerous substances. Did you get into what kind of substances these are?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Senator. Your microphone. Thank you for the question, Senator. They contained high levels of dangerous chemicals like cadmium and lead and phthalates. They also had other product safety failures that have been associated with injuries, buttons coming off, other kinds of things, drawstrings that the industry that is pushing for compliance go to great lengths to make sure that they meet those requirements. And so counterfeiters that are not going through, in addition to creating products that do have a health and safety issue, even though you might not think of it with an article of clothing, they do have a very obvious one. They also those counterfeiters get a benefit because they're selling something at roughly the same price, even though they don't have to go through the expenditure of the expense of compliance and testing and so forth.
Which leads me to question where these counterfeit products are coming from. Are they associated with certain countries that do not have to abide by health and safety considerations?
Many of them come from China, and interestingly, in China, a lot of those same health and safety considerations exist as well. We lead compliance programs in China to educate factories on that as well. What's happening is the counterfeiters are ignoring everyone's health and safety. They're not putting anyone's first, so they're ignoring the U.S. laws, they're ignoring Chinese laws, they're ignoring laws in other countries as well.
So does the bill that the chair and ranking member filed, will they help to get at these counterfeit products that are made in foreign countries such as China?
Absolutely, yeah.
How so?
We definitely think it'll put any counterfeiter on notice. It will also create a set of very proactive steps that will be taken to make sure that the goods don't even get offered to U.S. consumers in the first place. So we deny the market to the counterfeiters, so the financial incentive for the counterfeiters to even start down the path immediately dries up.
Just one more question, Mr. Chairman. So how do we get at these counterfeiters if they're not even in our country? I assume that these goods are somehow, that they're being sold by entities that are in China, for example. How do we even get jurisdiction over those folks?
One of the proactive measures, a set of proactive measures that's in Shop Safe, talks about establishing jurisdiction for these individual companies through the platform. So that's a measure that we don't have right now that would be a huge improvement.
Does a country have to, country of origin, i.e. China, have to accept our jurisdiction over their people?
No, but the entities that are doing business with these platforms would.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. Let me, if I could, just, Professor Campbell,